To create our own workflow, I'm in a brand new folder. It's an empty folder. The only thing I have in here is a git ignore file, since I'll be using git, just ignoring node modules, where we'll soon store all our dependencies, a Mac specific folder, and the dist folder, which I'll later use to spit out the build project. This is optional, you don't have to use git. Now, the first thing is that we want to use npm to manage our dependencies. So to manage all the files and the tools we need to set up a working workflow. For that, we need to put this project under control of npm, which we do by running npm init. You will simply run this in the terminal, navigate it into this empty folder. You'll then be asked a couple of questions. You can simply hit enter on all of these or adjust them to your needs. I'll quickly walk through them. At the end, you'll be asked if everything is okay, and you can hit yes. With that, you see that a package.json file was added. This is the file which we'll use to set up our build scripts and to also manage the dependencies of our project. Speaking of that, let's install the first important dependency, actually two of them. With npm install --save-dev, we install new dependencies and we mark them as development-only dependencies, which doesn't really have a big impact here, doesn't make a difference. We could also use --save in our project, but it makes it clear which dependencies we use only for setting up the build workflow and which dependencies really have an impact on the running application. You'll see that they will be grouped differently in the package.json file later. Both --save and --save-dev add an entry to package.json so that we can easily share our project without having to share the big node modules folder too. Enough talking about that though, let's specify the two dependencies we need. The first one is Webpack, and the second one is Webpack-dev server, like this. The second one is this development server we want to use so that we can test our application locally on the machine. And Webpack is, well, basically the build tool itself. Webpack-dev server wraps this build tool. They're both from the same team. Let's now hit enter to download these packages and create a node modules folder where they are stored. And you will also see that entries are added to the package.json file. I'll be back once this is done. So the installation did finish, and you see that we have the new dev dependencies node in the package.json file. This is what I meant. We can now share this project without node modules, as all the source code downloads in this course are, and everyone taking this project can just run npm install so that all the dependencies listed in dev dependencies or dependencies, the normal dependencies, get installed and the node modules folder gets recreated. In the node modules folder, we see a bunch of dependencies, not just Webpack and Webpack-dev server. That simply is because Webpack and Webpack-dev server have their own dependencies, which they also installed. But here you can see Webpack and Webpack-dev server. So with that, we can use these dependencies, and we will do so over the next lectures. A good place to start though is to not start working on the workflow, but let's first set up a basic folder structure and a basic React app so that we know in which environment we want to work and that we then can adjust the Webpack configuration to that environment. Let's do that in the next lecture.